See, and the chair for positive aging. So I am grateful to be here today. How many of you are new? This is your first time to be at Positive Aging. We got a few little hands there. Woo-hoo, welcome. We're glad you're here. Okay, village members, show of hands. How many of your village members? Fantastic. If you're new and you want to know about villages, see one of these folks, and they'll tell you why they love it. We are very grateful for folks that come and attend, and if you want to learn more about what we do, we would welcome you to do so. So, without further ado, we're going to get started here, and I am going to ask, oh, that's a fast little, sorry. There we go. Gayleen Stiles, who is also a staff member for Villages and a village member, an active village member who handles a lot of stuff for us. And she's going to start us out with a prayer, and then we're going to say the pledge. So if you guys will bow your heads with us, thank you. Amen. And if you'll all stand with us, we are so grateful that we live in a nation where we get to have the freedom to do things like this. So we want to honor that freedom by saying the pledge. So, Gayleen, yeah, there's flags everywhere, so turn whatever's comfortable for you. Okay, very good. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gayleen. Stay here with me because I've got something else I want you to help me with. All right. So you should, exactly. So our education partners, as I mentioned, are critically important to us, and we really do value them. So if you have not stopped by a table, please do that. They've got information not just about the programs that they offer, but about the topics that we're talking about. So it is worth stopping by because even if you don't think that you need home health, they may have something about the topic that we're talking about, and we want you to stop by and meet them. Because someday you might need home health, and it'd be great to have a friendly face, right? So, all right. So Villages OKC, we talked about this. We are not we're a plan, not a place, and we are committed to aging well. And the way that we do that is we want to empower adults to age with vitality and purpose. Anybody have a problem with that? That's like a good thing, right? Age does not equal frailty, right? Age does not equal diminishing. So we need to shake that up a little bit. So, all right. So what we do to accomplish this is we resist normal. And we like to recite this because you know what? When you read it, write it, say it, you believe it, right? So we're going to say this out loud if y'all will join us. This is our year I resist normal because normal is dehydrated, irritated, constipated, frustrated, overstimulated, overscheduled, undernourished, underrested, inflamed, and totally stressed out. I will resist normal. Okay, so it sounds great, right? I'm going to lose 10 pounds, but I can't lose 10 pounds if I don't do what I need to do that, right? So how do we resist normal? Well, this is our declaration. Ready? Right. All right. My best decade yet. I am a joyful, mature adult. I enjoy lifelong learning, planning, and serving. Today I will find someone younger to encourage. I love my age. This is my best decade yet. Give yourselves a hand, guys. Thank you, Gayleen. I appreciate you so much. All right. Well, folks, today's conversation is something that's really near and dear to my heart. I do work in a senior living environment, but that's not why it's important to me. It's not that I think everybody needs to move to a community. That's not it. What I do believe is that we have a revolution happening in our housing industry and also what's going to be available to us. So I've invited some folks to kind of shed some light from a personal perspective on that very topic. And I'm going to invite our guest speakers up today. So Danny Eischen and Shannon Stiger and Marilyn and Dana Olson. If you guys can head this way and step up on the stage. Danny, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to have you come over here. And from Danny's perspective, one of the things that's really important and the reason we invited him is he is a village board member. He served as our interim director. He's very passionate about the same thing I am. But he's had access, because he is also the CEO of Concordia, he's had access to some really great information. And so he's going to share that with you guys today. Yep. Yes, come on up. You have to listen to Danny. You have to sit and listen to Danny. That's right. Shannon, come on up. Yep. Yeah. Thanks, guys. All right. We got you.
Marilyn, you get to listen to Danny. You don't have to. There is a difference. I know. Okay, how do I get my face off this screen?
Oh, here you go.
There we go.
Here, right. Got it?
Very good. Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here today. And I'm just going to share a little information before I pass it along to the experts over here. Just some things that are going on in our industry and in our country that I think are very fascinating. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this slide maybe before. I've been working in senior living now for about 30 years, and I think probably 30 years ago people started showing the slide. So not necessarily a lot of new information on here, but recently I went to a conference and they kind of put this into a little bit of a different perspective. So I just wanted to share a few things about what this means to all of us. First thing that I want to share is, as you'll see on this graph, between 2025 and 2035, the number of Americans aged 75 and older is projected to increase by approximately 11.5 million. By 2030, every baby boomer will be at least 65, and soon afterward, the youngest baby boomers will be turning 75. So to appreciate what this chart means, let's compare the 75-year-old population with the rest of the country. Between 2025 and 2035, America's total population is projected to grow by only 4%. The population of age 75 and older is projected to grow by approximately 42%. So 10 times the growth rate of the entire country overall. During that same period, the number of children is expected to decline by about 3 million. The working age population will grow by only 3.4 million, while the 75-plus population will increase by 11.5 million. So, as you've heard over and over again, there's definitely a shift in what's happening with the population in our country. So, in other words, nearly 90% of the country's net population growth during this decade will occur among people aged 75 years and older. So what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, one thing that's going to happen is, and as you'll hear more about this in a little bit, it's going to create a major imbalance. So the population that's most likely to need housing, healthcare, transportation, home assistance, and caregiving is growing rapidly, while the population to provide those services is barely growing. So a lot of people assume, well, I can just wait until I need certain services. But the problem is the number of people needing or wanting the same services is growing much faster than our system's ability to expand. So a growing senior population is only one side of this challenge. The other question is, who's going to be available to help this age group? So in this slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that. You know, for a long time in our country, families have been the backbone of senior care. But the number of available family caregivers is shrinking. So as you'll see in this slide, in 2010, there were approximately 7 potential family caregivers for every older adult that needed support. By 2030, that ratio is expected to drop to 4 to 1, and by 2050, 3 to 1. So this doesn't mean that families care less. What it means is that families are smaller. Children often live further away. Many adult children are balancing careers, children, their own health, and caring for more than one parent. So paid home care is part of this solution, But that demand is also increasing. Availability, reliability, and cost may become a larger concern. So aging at home successfully requires more than just saying, I want to stay at home. It's going to require a realistic plan for who's going to provide that help, what will that help cost, and what happens if a primary caregiver is suddenly unavailable. So just a few questions for you all to think about. If you needed help tomorrow, who's going to provide that? Does that person know that they're part of your plan? And would that arrangement work for several years, not just several weeks? So at the same time that more people will need support and fewer caregivers may be available, the country, more good news, is also facing a shortage in senior housing residencies. So that's what's shown here on this slide. So this shows a little bit about the senior housing challenge through 2030. A big reason for the senior housing challenge was this thing called the pandemic. I don't know if any of you all remember that. That just happened a few years ago. And a lot of things happened during that time. One thing that happened during that time is there was a slowdown in the growth of senior living communities and senior living units. Obviously, with the pandemic, there were less people moving into senior living communities. But then the other thing that happened during the pandemic is construction costs just increased dramatically. So the result of that is that the industry does not have enough residences to take care of the people that are looking for senior living. So as the shortage grows from approximately 63,000 residences in 2025, that will expand to about 609,000 units being short by the year 2030. So, and the other issue with that is, senior living providers are looking at this. Senior living providers are being urged to build more because of the demand. But the issue is they can't be built very quickly. There's planning, there's financing, there's approvals, there's construction, there's staffing to think about. So all of that can take several years. So waiting lists are likely to become more common. If someone wants to wait for a fall, a hospitalization, a crisis, a change in health to move to a senior living community, then that decision is going to have to be made quickly. And where someone's going to go is going to be based on availability rather than their preference. So the point of all this is plan early. The benefit of planning early is not simply to just secure an apartment, it's protecting your ability to make your own decision. If you wait until you have to move, you may have to accept what is available. If you plan while you're still independent, you are more likely to choose what is right for you. So I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to go out and move to senior living tomorrow. I'm just suggesting that everybody needs to have a plan today. So whether that is what is your plan for staying at home, or what is your plan if you can't stay at home and you need to move to a community, what does that look like? So in order to accomplish that, what I would encourage you to do is research communities, understanding the costs, the contracts, tour while you can, evaluate options, discuss your wishes with your family, get on a wait list, get on an early acceptance program, be proactive. A good plan will answer 3 questions. Where would I want to live if my current home is no longer working for me? Who will help me? And is that plan realistic and sustainable? And what can I do now to preserve the greatest number of choices? So bottom line, do not wait for a crisis to make a decision for you. Planning early is not giving up your independence. It's one of the best ways to protect it. So that is what I wanted to share with you all this morning. Julie, any thoughts or questions on that you have?
No, I'm going to ask you to join the rest of the panel because I think we'll have some questions later. If you guys have questions, either from what Danny just shared or what the rest of the panel offer, you have a little index card in front of you. And if you'll write those questions down, we're going to collect those at the end, and we will ask follow-up questions. So do you not have an index card? No. Oh, three important
Oh,
questions.
3 important questions. You
Yes,
bet.
that we can do.
Should have made a slide of those.
I know, right?
Okay. A good plan answers 3 questions. Where would I want to live if my current home no longer works for me? Who will help me if I stay at home, and is that plan realistic and sustainable? And what can I do now to preserve the greatest number of choices? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have this good information, right? So we're gonna segue a little bit, and I really appreciate, and I hope you guys do, the global perspective of what we're looking at nationally. Obviously, what happens nationally is going to trickle down and impact us here in Oklahoma. And we've invited Shannon Stiger for a couple of reasons, but she is a certified senior housing professional. So her real estate business is completely focused on late in life moves or long time homeowner moves, and she does a fantastic job at it. But because of the nature of her job, she has the opportunity to gain a lot of insight. So we're going to take it from a global perspective and what it looks like nationally to what it looks like if you're a homeowner and what your options are and selling a home and buying and all those kinds of things. We need to kind of take it back to what we have here locally. So Shannon, I am so glad you're here, and I appreciate you being here. So,
well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, Shannon, you've been in the industry for over almost 2 decades, right?
Well, a little over 1 decade. Let's not push it too much.
Okay. Yeah.
When you start saying decades,
yes, it's
sometimes
scary, right?
It's positive, sometimes it's negative. I've been at it about 12 years now.
Okay, 12. Okay. So, Shannon, one of the things that I know you run into because of the nature of the folks that you have a tendency to, I mean, you serve all populations, but you do have a focus on helping folks because you're really good at it. So,
thanks.
You're welcome. So, what I'd like to kind of talk about is, from your perspective, in Danny sharing the message about the number of people on the market, the types of needs we're going to need. We know, and Danny didn't cite this particular stat, but it is a true stat, is that over 70% of us in America are going to need some type of care assistance before we pass away. So that's a very real stat. So we need to be planning. It's not that everyone's going to decline and because you're older, you're frail and you need help. Well, that's what we're against. But we do know that at some point we may have, even if it's an acute issue, we may need help, right? Or our spouse may pass and we don't want to live in the house alone, those kinds of things. So can you tell us, when we're purchasing a home, are there some things that we need to be keeping in mind of our current home that we have? Are there some things that you're seeing trend-wise that people are either embracing or not embracing?
Well, I want to say, actually, the statistics that Danny showed demonstrated something that I have walked my entire life. Boomers set the trend, and they have broken every rule there ever is, and they're continuing to do that.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. Yeah. And I say that from the person who's followed boomers my entire life. I benefited from it. They're doing that again. So what you're seeing is they're saying, yes, I'm going to stay in my house, but they're having to decide or look at, how can I do that? So when you're thinking about your house that you're in, Danny said it perfectly, where do I want to live? And if it's in your current house, that's fine, but you have to plan. So now do what boomers do best, and that's think ahead. Think about what the next decade's going to look like. Use the experience that they've had, that we've all had, helping parents, grandparents. What would you have changed about their house when you were helping them? And do some of those things now, depending on what your choice is. You know, we kind of think in a bubble. We think that the choices you have are to stay in your house or to move to a senior community. Well, I'm going to tell you, boomers break the rules. So it's kind of exciting to listen to my clients because they come up with some, I'm going to say wild, some really unique ideas, and they can back it up. So that's what I want to share with you guys, is think about where you want to go.
Right.
And when you do that, then think about what your life is going to look like in 5 years or in 10 years, and what do I need? Physically, mobility. Am I going to be able to drive? Am I going to need help with transportation? Am I going to be able to use a walker or a wheelchair in my house? Those are the logistical things you're going to be able to start thinking about. And then you move to your team, and that's who your family is and what resources you're going to need. So it's a tier process that you're thinking about.
Right.
Did that answer your
It
question?
does, yeah. And I think, as you mentioned that, one of the things I think about is some of the changes that we might make are going to take a contractor, right? We may have to make some investments into our home. Are those not naturally going to transition into equity, or are they going to be things that have to be reversed, or does it depend?
It depends.
Okay.
So the first thing I want people to think about is if you say I'm going to age in place, which is great, but you do nothing to your home currently and you have an emergency and your expectation is that when they release you from the hospital or rehabilitation, that adjustment can be made in the day and a half that you get notice that you're going from one place to the other, that's delusional. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. So thinking about those accommodations earlier, that's where a contractor comes in. You get bids, you get estimates, you get more than one opinion, and you have to have a budget. I mean, we all live on some kind of budget, and you have to think of what that costs. Danny talked about construction costs going up for building an entire building. Well, the good news, bad news is that it also works for all of our houses.
Right.
And if anybody's called an HVAC out or a plumber out, you have felt that pain, and felt that you probably were very misguided in your youth as to what profession you're in. So those are things you think about. But you have to look at the total picture.
Right.
Now, will it help for the resale of your house? Depends on the type of accommodations you're making. Most accommodations will only enhance a house. A true accommodation that's thought out, grab bars, a wider access into a hallway or into a bathroom, a flat walk-in shower. Someone who's 25 years old, 35 years old, they don't see that as an accommodation. They just think it's kind of cool and it's neat and new. That's all they're going to see. Now, so will that enhance the sale of the house? Maybe. It might. Depends on how well it's done and what it looks like overall picture. But it's about you being able to utilize that for you. So you're doing it not necessarily for the resale value. You're doing it for you to be able to live there. If you can do it in such a fashion that it does no harm, that's a bonus point. You want to continue with that. So that it's a balancing act. There are some things. So the one I want to give an example is the walk-in tubs. So I've had both experiences. I've had clients that have put those in and they've never used it. But they wanted it, but they never used it. It became a hindrance when they went to sell the house because someone looked at it and said, "Oh, grandma lives here, and we don't want that." But then I've had the opposite effect that someone enjoyed it for 10 years. And the funny thing is, then the next person who bought that particular house, it was a karma thing, in my opinion. The person who bought it because of that bathtub, because she needed it. Yeah. So it just depends.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think one of the things that we kind of talked about this a little bit is that the home is the biggest asset that we have oftentimes, right? And so when we're looking at making these modifications, we want to stay in the home. If we think that's the cheapest route, is that always true? Or
not
rarely true?
It depends.
Or does it depend?
Okay.
Depends. Okay. It's a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question because there's so many variables. So, I mean, the variables you want to think about is not just the modifications to your house, but once you've made those modifications, what's the additional cost of
like reversing it?
Not reversing it, of then healthcare for someone to come help you while you're in the house.
Yes.
So, and then you have the mechanics of the house. You still have property tax. You still have insurance. Right. So people who are homeowners, it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It's a real thing. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts when you have a when you own a home. It's not just about living there and not having a house payment. It's really nice not having a house payment. I'm kind of new to that. I'm just going to tell you, I buy right into it now.
Yeah.
I get it. But there's still other things that I'm responsible for as a homeowner
Right.
beyond a house payment.
Yeah.
So that's where the accommodations are wonderful and allow you to live there longer, but you are still paying and you still have things that you may mentally have to determine and take care of and have somebody and pay someone to do.
Right.
So it's a balancing act.
Right.
Ultimately, if you made a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
Galen was talking about she
Yeah.
loves making spreadsheets. You make a spreadsheet of the expenses on both sides. I'm going to tell you over 90% of the time it's a wash.
Yeah.
Between a community and living and aging in place.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful, I think. And I want to segue a little bit into the conversation that we had about the number of people that may be in a position where they decide to stay at home, but then all of a sudden, like Danny said, something happens that staying at home is no longer an option. You alluded to the fact that what if you have to make that decision in a short period of time, right? So are you seeing a influx of homes on the market, and what does that look like from a realtor perspective? What are you guys seeing? What are trends that you're seeing?
We are seeing, okay, so I just love the examples you gave. You
Yeah.
just like segue right
All
into
right.
me. Yeah,
Like we
it was
planned
nice.
this or
It was
something.
a
I
good
don't know.
plan. So in 2020, we had an average of about 2,500 homes on the market. I can tell you I barely got a sign in the yard before I had a line of people wanting to buy that house. Before that and after that, an average number of homes on the market in the Oklahoma City metro market is about 5,000. Okay, that puts it at a strong seller's market, but not people lined up. Let's just get average. Today, we have over 8,900 homes on the market in the Oklahoma City metro market. We still have the same number of buyers. The buyers haven't gone up, but the number of houses have. And I can tell you that with the economy and with people deciding to move, having to move, or passing away, the number of houses going on the market are only increasing from that demographic.
Yeah.
And so the total number then is going up. So you have more competition. It's bottom line competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we got the whole supply and demand situation is not going to not impact this decision, right? So, and I know you're big on sharing because with your heart for adult children and what they go through, because you help a lot of families. Maybe they have passed away and they're having to deal with what to do with the house. Um, we don't foresee that this is going to go away, right? And
Oh
so
no, it's
planning, right?
it's only going to get it's going to be more. I'm not going to say it's going to get worse. It's just going to be more.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I know you talk a lot to your clients in advance, and they're just like maybe teasing the ideas and stuff like that. You recommend that they plan, right? Are there, and you said spreadsheet, but what else? Are there any other tips that you can share that you've maybe seen people do or
I'm going to
encourage?
tell you, it's about education.
Yeah.
This is a really good example of that education. It's about asking questions. First, on average, I will visit a client anywhere from 2 to 3 times before they finally decide to move. Only the true client that I have that I sign up when I show up the first time is the one who has an emergency and they've lost their choices.
Mhm.
Most of my clients, I will come out and I will give them I call them it's a baseline of this is what your house is worth today. And this is what you could do to it if you want to age in place, or this is what your neighborhood looks like, and this is what the market looks like. So you have a budget. So sometimes it's hard to know where you want to go if you don't know what your budget is. And
Right.
that is our biggest investment is our house. So that's where I usually come in, and I may come back 6 months. I had clients I come back every year for several years. And then they decide when they're ready, but they've gotten the information. What I encourage and I advocate for is that you know what your house is worth, or at least a general idea, rather than listening to your neighbors. We love our neighbors. They're great. But they don't have accurate information. We'll put it that way. And Zillow's not always the most accurate information.
What about your taxes? Is that evaluation reliable?
It's not accurate.
Okay.
It can be.
It can be.
It can
but
be.
It's not a hard
It-
fact.
But it's about what the value is based on what the general area is sold, not based on your condition, not based on anything specific. It's just a straight average, and it benefits whoever's collecting that tax.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So you mentioned that you have people that are coming up with some unique ideas. And to your right, we have such people. So were they in the crazy category or
I did not say crazy.
No, it's crazy.
I did not.
Wild.
We're going to check. It was not crazy. Adventurous, maybe.
Adventurous. Bold.
Bold.
Exactly.
Yes. Outside the box thinkers,
Yeah.
which are boomers in general.
Absolutely. So many of you guys know our friends, the Olsons. So Dana and Marilyn have generously agreed to share their journey. Shannon actually helps them with the sale and purchase of a home. So I'm gonna kick it off with Marilyn because Marilyn, primarily you and Jim had a conversation probably about we're just gonna stay in our house, right? Like originally before the idea of making a move, was it just we were gonna stay here, or were you kicking around what your options were?
I'd say it started much earlier than that.
Okay.
The scripture says, train up a child in the way they should go. And so during the time that we cared for several of our family members, and my mother was with us the longest, Dana said one day, in fact, we moved to the house that you sold before Dana was married. How long have you been married?
This is a test.
Sure. So 20,
Yeah.
it'll
We're going to see if it does feedback. Yeah.
So 24 years ago, she was beginning to see what was happening, and she said to me, "Don't worry, Mom, we're watching." So I thought, maybe we should do this right.
Yeah.
So it made me act nicer to my mother, on those days when I wanted to take her medicine myself. Life is tough sometimes.
Right.
So we began just looking at that, and then had been involved with other people who had done things different ways. So we've always been a close family, and did lots of family gatherings together. And so the idea of living closer was kind of talked about loosely, casually, and so that's kind of where it started long ago. So
Okay.
I don't know that we talked about. I don't think Jim and I really talked about staying there necessarily, but we talked about different options.
Okay.
And even the house Dana moved in at one point, the people were moving out because of health issues and not being able to climb stairs. So we saw other people, and we were living it ourselves.
Right. And I love that you share that. And I think that's a really good tip for you guys. And we've talked about this before. Do the what if game. If you know of somebody in your sphere of life that you see walk through something really difficult, and you like, oh, okay, what if that was me? How would I handle that? What would that look like? Play it out in your head. Because I think that that's a really good training ground for
But not only play it out in your head, but talk about it.
talk about it. Yeah.
So Dana could share a little bit more, but when a friend of hers, a young mother, passed away, Dana was talking at the Sunday dinner table with everybody about what do you want for your funeral. So we talking openly about every piece of it, and there's plenty of examples in our daily lives if you just look around.
Right.
And so try on the clothes yourself.
Yeah.
See if it works.
I think that's great. I'm going to let you pass the mic to Dana. Dana, so you and Ruben, you said you watched.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't always have the same experiences. Spouses don't always have the same life experiences. So tell me a little bit about your journey, like what that looked like for you early on. Like she said, 24 years ago, somebody moved out because they can't use the upstairs or whatever, if that sat with you,
Right.
So just kind of talk about that a little bit.
I'm the youngest in my family, and so I got the good fortune of being able to watch everybody else. So I watched older siblings, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully, and I was able to look at examples. I was also fortunate to live at home probably longer than the others, and I was living at home when my mom was caring for her mother. So we all lived together. And so I got to see what that really looked like. And as my life progressed and I got married and had kids, my kids would come over, and so I would see things like, oh, they added a ramp into the front of the house, and this is handy. Now I can use it for my baby stroller. And other things like the plates are different now. They're not using the heavy plates. They got different lighter weight plates. And I said, Mom, you got new plates. What happened? And she said, well, Grandma really liked to unload the dishwasher, and these other plates are too heavy. So we changed. So now we have the lightweight plate. So tiny little pieces all along the way of watching as my grandmother needed a little bit, maybe not more care, but different type of care. And so very early on, I knew that I would probably be the point person for their care. And I had agreed to that. But I don't know, has anybody else here ever agreed to do something, but they didn't really understand what they were agreeing to do? So I had said, they had asked, and I had said yes, and it was fine. Nothing happened. Yeah. Nothing was different. I just said yes. But as time went on and our lives changed and people in our lives changed, I started to realize, oh, like I'm not sure that I've totally thought this through. So may I give an example?
Yes.
About 10 years ago, my daughter broke her foot randomly. She was just jumping around, not doing anything athletic, just broke it. And what we realized after she had a foot cast is we couldn't help her the way she needed help. So all of our bathrooms are upstairs at this other house. There was no, there was only like a powder bed downstairs, and all the bedrooms were upstairs, which is why we bought the house, because we wanted all the babies close. Now that we had this little girl with a foot cast, she was just dragging it around the house and up the stairs, and I was putting her on my back. Terrible. And all of a sudden, I had this kind of epiphany. Oh no, we've said when mom and dad need help, they'll just move in with us. And I all of a sudden realized this isn't going to work. Where are they going to go?
Right.
And so those conversations started to just trickle in where I thought, okay, I said yes and I mean yes, but what we thought was going to happen isn't going to work. And if it does, it's probably going to be bad. So let's start talking about something different.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me about your conversation with Ruben when this house, well, let's back up. The house that you're currently in, it's not the first time you took a tour of it, right?
Correct.
You're familiar with it. So tell us a little bit about that.
So about 20 years ago, my sister purchased property and built a house. It's a little bit in the country, but kind of still in the city. Anyway, across the street from them was a house that was already built. So I watched my sister's house being constructed, and we just lived over there, right? I mean, we swam in their pool, and but we would talk occasionally. Wouldn't it be so fun if we lived across the street? Wouldn't that just be so cool? And that's all that ever was, just conversation. And then the people across the street moved in their mother and built a cottage for her in the back. And we thought, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? So you just kind of try it on for size. And then the people put it up for sale, and we kind of talked about it, but not really. Like we mentioned it kind of aloud, but we didn't really do any action steps. And so somebody else moved in, and then it became kind of more of a thing. Like, wouldn't that would be so nice. So nice. And then it went up for sale again. And I thought, well, maybe. And so we discussed it kind of loosely, but there was a lot of other changes going on in our life. My husband got a new job, and there was just a lot of moving parts, and it just wasn't the ideal time. So we talked about it, but didn't really take action.
Okay.
And I'd say for the 2 years after that decision, I wrestled with it. And every time I would visit my sister, I would look at this house across the street and be like, oh, just I think it was the one that got away. And I talked to Shannon about it some, and it kind of became a source of pain because I thought, oh, I think we really missed out on an opportunity. Anyway, fast forward, it came up for sale again, and so that opportunity came about fast, but we had thought about it many times before and knew this was probably our last at bat.
So I'm going to let you pass the mic to Marilyn. And um, So Marilyn, walk us through. You guys, it wasn't like they just said, "Hey, mom and dad, y'all come move in. We found a house," right? That's not how it went. I mean, or did it?
Well, we do a lot of things together, and
Sure.
so obviously we had been in process. In fact, helping each other a lot.
Right.
And so there was a discussion finally, and you may help guide me here so I
Yeah.
don't get carried
Sure.
away, but
Yeah.
on the porch one Sunday afternoon, we had the four of us, Jim and I and Rita and Dan, and they said, "What would you think? And would you be interested at this time?" So setting a date, and how would that work? So we began to talk really seriously that it might be possible if we really cooperated and helped each other.
Right. Okay. Now, it wasn't just a verbal, "Hey, that sounds good," right? I mean, did you guys?
We have a written agreement
You have a written agreement.
and
Let's talk about
details.
that a little bit. How did that
And,
evolve?
and well, we have what do we call them? Meetings, homeowners meetings, HOA meetings. We have HOA meetings, and we talk about how are things going, and is it comfortable? Because the seasons change. I mean, now
Sure.
that school's in place, everything changes on schedule wise and so forth. So it is really a community.
Mhm.
It's just a different type of community that Danny has, which is wonderful, or all of the other wonderful communities
Options.
around. But for us, I think this fits well. So we're very communicative and very clear. And even then, not everything's perfect. You just do the best you can. So,
Sure.
for example, because we live close, the grandchildren we love come over frequently. So I asked Ruben to please put on a doorbell because I want to make sure it didn't get caught in my underwear or
Right.
something.
Exactly.
So we don't get that close. We have the clarity.
Right.
And then so yeah. So I was concerned that if because it's all one piece of property, so if the ship goes down, we all go down together. So
Right.
I asked them if they would add some insurance
Mhm.
on the major breadwinner, Ruben, to make sure that if he was out of the picture, and he said, "Well, I've got insurance." And I said, "That's going to take care of your family.
Right.
What's going to pay the place off? Mortgage type insurance." And so, because that was worrying, so we tried to take care of the things that worried each of us,
Uh-huh.
or that just bugged us, and
Right.
then talk them out and figure it out because we want to work together. That's the whole idea.
Right.
In fact, not only does Lisa, the other daughter, live across the driveway, but y'all can help us pray about this.
Mhm.
We have another daughter in Phoenix, and there is a hookup for their RV. So we're kind of hoping they come to Oklahoma. If they don't build close, that because we're very serious about this doing community together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I'm gonna let you pass back to Dana because you mentioned something that I think is really important, Marilyn, about your process. And I am acquainted with an individual who, very much like you guys, wanted to uh, stay close in community with her child, right? Um, on dad's deathbed, son promises mom, or dad, I'm going to take care of mom. So dad passes away, mom sells the house, um, gives the kids the money to build a new house so that they can have a multi-generational home. They didn't really do their homework. Mom has a bedroom with a bathroom in the hall, which also serves as a guest bathroom. It doesn't have a separate entrance. She doesn't have a kitchenette. She doesn't even have access to the kitchen because the daughter-in-law is very particular. And none of this is
I
in
would have
writing.
negated that. So just,
Yeah.
that does not check the boxes.
No.
We had our boxes pretty well lined out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we kind of knew what would and would not work. And then we talked about it to make sure we didn't miss the things between boxes.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about that. And the takeaway that I hope that the audience has today is that even if you talk through it and even if it's well intended, and if you don't have it in writing and everyone's not clear on the expectations, that can cause some problems, right? So, Dana, you guys actually have a contract on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We wanted it in writing for us, but I wanted it in writing for my sisters, whom I love dearly and are very supportive of this. But you live long enough, you hear stories, and I just thought all of it takes to get really sideways with somebody is to have your finances and the loss of a parent to really sever a relationship. And I don't want that. But here's the other thing. I also don't know that I want them in every one of my financial decisions. So it's a little bit of a balance, like telling them enough, but not too much. Because the agreements between us has nothing to do with my sister. but she is also watching. So I wanted to know, and I've told them, I said, there is an agreement. We have talked about it. This is what it looks like. So if there are questions, I could say, we did talk about it and everybody agreed and sat down, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're like accessing my bank statement. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it could get complicated real quick. And so we're trying to avoid that by keeping things simple.
Yeah, you've got some transparency, but not, significant. Marilyn, what you want to add to that? You see why I only gave them one mic, right?
We did include the sons-in-law. We have the
Yes.
world's best sons-in-law, the right ones for each of the girls. So we worked hard to make sure that we had tried to attend to their concerns as well, so that it really worked. It really worked, pleasantly, but it was intentional.
That's right. Marilyn, I'll let you keep the mic because I have a question for you. You mentioned I like Punch and Judy over there. Okay, so you mentioned this is new. Like it's not like you've been living together for a long time, right? Like this is a new venture, right? And you mentioned seasons, right? So let's talk about the initial move. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience about the process of leaving your home and moving into this new home, and some ahas or things that you learned that you think could be beneficial for others?
Everything that I've learned in the last 10 years with villages and the lead up to that and so forth, and from Danny, who is so well educated in all this, and from Shannon. I met Shannon, I think 9 years ago. You were just a pup then, So all of this has been over a long period of time. And what I learned was that you should move your things, the things that fit in the new downsized place, and then sell the home. So we tried to apply the things that we had learned, because that makes good sense, not try to pack up everything and then keep it. So we did it in stages. And so my one son-in-law said, no problem. We'll just come over and move you. We can do that in 2 days. No, we're going to take 3 months. We're going to do, so it helped to have some backing in the process. Then the downsizing process, we didn't have a lot, but we did have some special things. But it worked out nicely, because the benefit of doing this cooperatively was that I gave my Yamaha piano to Lisa across this driveway. Now she gets to dust it and pay for tuning it, and I can play it anytime I want.
I love that.
Among us, we didn't need 3 Instapots, so I gave my Instapot away. And so, because it just made sense, so those kind of things kind of work themselves out. So as far as the move itself, is there something else you want to address?
I just, whatever insights you gained that you maybe either caught you off guard or, surprised you, or, any of that, or if you felt like you were prepared because
I started with the knife drawer. I mean, you've done downsizing clubs and so forth, and that all of that is so helpful. So get educated, attend Downsizers Club, attend Senior Living Truth Series, attend Time for Living.
Yeah.
I mean, Connie and her team are helping so many people just be informed, and it takes a while. So as I said, we've been at this, thinking about this in general for more than 25 years,
Right.
And so, and living it with parents and so forth. So it wasn't a quick decision at all. And when we did have other alternatives, I think. So was there anything that surprised me? I really wept going through my knife drawer, which is the first drawer I took and at 3 months out, because I had some of Aunt Jess's knives, and I had, and the guy that sharpens knives told me they weren't even that good. I don't know why. It was kind of dumb, One was a green handle, one was red. It was the stupidest thing. It's like, but I kind of worked through that, and then bought myself a new set. And gave myself permission. So it just takes time to do that. If you rip that Band-Aid too quickly, I think it would probably be very difficult.
Yeah.
And I would have probably not acted nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Dana, same question. Anything that either surprised you or delighted you, or anything that you think could be a good aha?
Think, the process of watching them go through their house was, moving is just the worst.
Yeah,
it's just the worst.
Yeah.
I'd really rather do so many other things.
These people love moving. Moving's great, right, guys?
It's terrible.
No one ever.
Your stuff's all over the place. You have to come to realization of how much stuff you have, and you're kind of disgusted with yourself. And thinking, how could I have gotten this many baskets?
Right.
How? And then people are making fun of how many baskets that you have, and until she had to borrow one. That felt so good. That felt so good. She gave me so much grief, but I just can't believe someone would need this many baskets. And then the day she came across and said, "They're baskets," I was like, "What was that? Say it one more time, please." It was so painful to watch them go through their thing.
Yeah.
But I was so grateful. Yeah. And I will say, out of all of this, that probably has been the biggest gift.
Yeah.
To myself, because that's what everybody my age is worried about. Of course, they're worried about their parents and their health and their happiness, but they're really worried about it because they don't want it.
Yeah.
And honestly, watching my own parents go through my grandmother's house, that's the difference that also happened in that 2-year period when we looked at this house before. The last time we looked at it, they hadn't sold grandma's house yet. And it took them 2 years to clear it and lots of tears.
Yeah.
And it was painful. And I think they saw that and we saw that and we all said, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's not do it that way. So we couldn't have purchased this house alone. We wanted to, and we couldn't. It was too much house.
Yeah.
And so we had to agree. The timing had to be right, and they had to be willing to let go of that to come to this new place. So we had to be in agreement. My husband is one of 7, and his mother's an only child, and his dad's the youngest of 9. So he doesn't have really any grandparent experience watching them age or caregiving or any of that. So he is kind of like, what is happening here? This is wild. And I've asked him a couple of times, so this is still new.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in January.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll look at him and say, okay, really, how are you doing? Are we okay? Is this going to work? And he said, he was great.
Yeah.
He does love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
he's like, people ask me all the time, and they ask me, and I'll say, we've done this move, and they'll say, I didn't know they were doing that. And I said, have you seen them?
Yeah.
They're doing amazing.
Yeah.
They're the ones cooking us dinner. They're the ones making the grass look better than it's ever looked.
Yeah.
They're the ones cleaning the pool. Like, we are getting out free of this deal. No, not really.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, all of this work that we were all doing independently, now we're just doing it together.
Right.
And so when I have too much meatloaf, I share it, or really not the case. When she has too much meatloaf, she shares it with me. And it just, and people are coming in the house and, borrowing milk, and my nieces and nephews are coming over. So we were close before, but there's no kind of closeness like living this close. And when Ruby goes over.
Aw. Yeah. Talk about Ruby coming over.
Yeah. Ruby comes over to say goodnight.
Oh.
I'll tell you something funny that'll wake you up. Yeah.
She's your youngest granddaughter, right?
Yeah. So we talked about, she went to school today, so I'm still teary. Yeah. And her brother drove her, so Dana didn't even get to tell her. So.
She's holding it together very well as a guy.
Yeah. Being mothers is just, it never ends.
No.
Funny thing that happened was people always telling people what to do. You need to downsize, and you need to this, and you need to whatever, just like I told her about the basket. Well, we moved, and we because of the shop that Jim has, we had a dumpster, and so we were getting rid of things. When we helped move Grandma's house, we ended up going through 3 major big time dumpsters.
Sure.
We a lot of stuff. So anyway, we got the dumpster, and we're going, and then I heard this noise early in the morning. Somebody was in the dumpster diving.
Oh my.
I couldn't believe it. It's the other son-in-law over there. He's like, this is really good stuff. How can you let this go? So when her sister was thanking us, Mom, this is such a gift. It's such a blessing. We won't have to go through that. I said, guess what? It's going to be in your garage. So anyway, and so we see ourselves a little more clearly when we're open like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Well, and I know, Shannon, I'm going to kind of go back to you for just a second. Obviously, we love the Olson story, and the fact that, your sister lives across the street, and, you guys have this opportunity. It's almost like a compound, and we do have people that do that. Like, that's a thing. But that's not going to be an opportunity for everybody, right? So, but the multi-generational opportunity is still an option for folks, right?
It is, and I want to stress something. I've had the honor of watching this process with them from your grandmother's house and Jim's mom's house, and then going through this for years. And so this is not an overnight thing. I smile whenever I hear whatever the topic at the Sunday table was, because I have the same mom, but she does it in the car. Same principle, though. It can be some wild, and this is a wild question. Wild. There's no telling what the topic's going to be, but they talk it out, and they've talked it out for years. So this was not an overnight process, and I want people to understand that, because that's the key to any decision you make. Is about thinking it through and looking at the details and utilizing the strengths of your team. I was so impressed, and this is my takeaway from their downsizing, is I called it Marilyn's elves, because I told her, I said, I can get you an estimate for cleaning the house. Someone will come in and get taken care of. No, I think we can do it this weekend. I go, well, Marilyn, you shouldn't have to clean your own house. I mean, it's still a pretty big house, a lot to do. She said, no, I think we'll get it taken care of. Well, she brought in her elves, so her daughters came in. She had grandkids.
I am the elf.
Yeah, and they all came in and cleaned it. I came back on Monday or Tuesday, and it was clean. It's like, oh my God, this looks really. How did you do this? But we took care of it. And it's like, but it's a team. So she has this resource team, and it's not just her family. It's Villages people. It's all the people you see here. She's utilized in different ways. Dana's utilized in different ways. So that's probably the key takeaway. With multi-generational living, the putting it in writing is probably one of the key things. And asking what both sides want and what are their boxes. Moving them into a bedroom with a bathroom in the hall and no real privacy. It doesn't sound like a formula for success to me. That wouldn't be my box.
Well, and the other thing that came out of that conversation was that she's now stuck in that situation because the equity that she gave them it was her largest asset. And so her plan wasn't all the way thought out.
And
So,
was it her plan or was it her husband's plan? Because he was very
exactly.
concerned.
Exactly.
And rightfully so. And he was doing what he thought was best.
Right.
But it's a total conversation. It's not just
Right.
one-sided, because you have a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
And that's probably the key. It's not just about what's good for the kids or the grandkids or even the senior. It has to be good for all, or it's not going to work. Multi-generational is really what you're going to see more of. And we're going to have you'll see road bumps and you'll see changes and evolutions through that. But it's a wise thought and a wise discussion that I think people don't always discuss.
Right. And I think the conversations have to start early. And Danny, you and I, in the world that we're in, we have conversations with folks. And what's the average length of time that, from the time somebody comes in to the time they make a decision, what does that time frame look like? What's the average?
Well, I mean, it could be several years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's quick if they're in crisis.
Yes, if they're in crisis. Yeah, sure.
But if they're planning, it could be several years. And I think that's the key, is just planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about just this week. I mean, we run into a lot of people who come to us in different situations. And just this week, I had 2 examples of couples who planning was an issue, one good, one not so good. One couple planned ahead. They're at Concordia, crisis situation going on health-wise, and they needed care quickly, and we were able to accommodate that. Just this week, another couple, the daughter lives in Oklahoma, the couple lives out of state, crisis. She can't care for them in another state because she's running a business here, and now she's scrambling. I need to move my parents to Oklahoma, and it's a matter of what's available.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and assessing what their level of care need is. That's the other
all of that.
challenge.
So, planning makes a huge difference, like we talked about before, in choices. And you can't do that well in one day.
Right.
It's time.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah. We are going to have
One of the things that he mentioned, it takes time, and I think it's because it's not the fact, it's not the transactions that take time. You can call somebody and get that taken care of quickly, but the emotions take time.
Yeah.
And they do weird things to you, your body physically.
Yeah.
So I don't know about all those, endorphins and hormones and
Right.
stuff, but they all go to work big time.
Yeah.
And it's much easier if you just kind of dribble it out and in the process.
While you're feeling well. Okay.
And he said something really important that people are in different states.
Yep.
People think they can make these decisions by looking online. You cannot get a feel for any type of community by the pictures online.
Yeah.
You can't get a feel for a house by the pictures online. When people
Hey,
tell me
Shannon,
they bought a
we almost didn't sell our house. It looked so good when the pictures got done. The pictures were better than it really was.
one, I hear that a lot, and then I remind them how much the price is, and they're willing to let that go. Yeah. But it does happen, and you can't tell. When people tell me that they bought a house sight unseen and they're living there, I just take a deep breath and smile. and I wish the best for them because it's hard to identify by pictures. So it's an in-person thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a knee-jerk, situation. So
That's part of the emotion.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So how many of you guys are curious about what the Olson compound looks like? Yeah? Okay. Guess what? We figured you might be inquisitive or curious. So we are going to play a video, and we had to break it into stages. And Shannon, thank you for making this happen. Because she's a realtor, she had access to the video equipment. So but we're going to talk through it. Is that right? Okay. So I'm going to get going. And this screen is broken, guys. Sorry. So pay attention to that one over there. Sorry. All right. It's going. Walk
There it
through
is. That's the front door.
Yep.
There's multiple doors, and so sometimes Amazon gets confused. So sometimes I get eggs from Walmart that I didn't order.
That's my dining table. I gave it to her.
Yes, and she also told me the best place to put it. Yeah, that's fine. So there's a study/piano room.
And this is for Dana and Ruben
Yes,
and
this is
children.
This
Okay.
is the main house. We did talk some about names. That was kind of important. So for a while we were like, what's this place in the back? It's the rent house. No, it's not an outhouse. No. And so we settled on cottage, and that was something else that was really important to her. She didn't want to, it's her home. So
Yeah.
what it was called was important. This was an Airbnb for a while, and so there was a lot of stickers that say quiet hours after 9 o'clock. We just leave those stickers up. We didn't take them. Here's the shared outside area. And what we've decided as a family is this is shared. So if they want to have a party, this is theirs too. A village party, maybe
That's
that's
what I
still
was
in the
just
mix.
gonna say.
Yeah. It's meant to be shared, right? It's too big of a place not to share with other people. All right, you're up.
This is the cottage. All
So
right.
the outside entrance from the driveway is our little pathway to the cottage, and goes through the area. Used to have a hot tub in there, but we took it out, and so it's got a covered area. This front door. Oh no, that's the pool room. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there was not room for a washer and dryer because the previous people didn't use that. They used the house, so we put that in the pool bath. But it works out just fine. And for the 16-year-old party they had last week, this was the boys' bathroom. So we just modified it. So
We talked about the laundry, like just use ours. And then we kind of tried it on for size, and we thought, well, I don't know if that's going to work.
yeah. So this is our entrance, and it has a full kitchen, two ovens, and plenty of cabinet space. I had plenty of extra dishes, so I had to give some away, but it worked out fine. Only thing I had to buy was bar stools and the carpet. So we have a living area, and every Sunday night the kids come over, so we have cottage with cousins, and this is our bedroom. So we just have one bedroom. Easy to clean. I mean, it's just I can get to do the things that I really enjoy doing. So, and then one bath and closet. But it worked out. It just works out great. We've had to make adjustments just like everybody does, but it is a huge blessing. So
Yeah.
I've been thanking the men, the sons-in-law, regularly.
Okay. Speaking of men, this was not just a Olson, Marilyn move. This is a Jim move too. So what do we have for Jim?
Yeah.
Oops,
So
it's not going. Hold on. There we go.
So there's Pop Shop. The girls had his sign made on Etsy. Can make anything if you need that. Says
I
Pop Shop
like that.
established 2026. And he does a lot of business in there. At least you think so.
Yep.
It may be stained glass. It may be welding. It may be woodworking. It whatever. So we're still kind of working through it. Back at the back of the room is my granddad's player piano that Jim refinished.
Oh.
And so he couldn't get rid of it, so we played it. So we had ice cream and player piano. It sounded like a honky tonk, but we had a great time. So anyway, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff from his mother and family. And so it some of that never ends, but it is a great place, and it would not have worked. It would not have worked if Jim didn't have a place to do his thing. So it just you gotta know what you want and what you're looking for, and then make it work. So when all his corn comes in and his watermelons, we are going to have a feast.
Love it.
We would like to have a village party. We haven't put that together yet. We've got some work to do, but it has allowed us to do some of the things we just didn't have time for because we were cleaning a big house, and this time we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. And Shannon, I know that you have a strong opinion about Jim's shop and the importance of that. Do you want to share anything about that as far as like considering, multi-generational living?
It had to be a win for both of them. I can tell you, this is the first time I saw the shop. I saw the cottage, and first time I got to see the main house. And I always thought, well, man, Jim did a really good job. This is a big deal. I mean, I know he's always had workshops, so I thought he really kind of gave up quite a little bit. Well, then I saw the workshop.
He had three rental warehouse
storage house.
So we had to have, even if he downsized, he had to have a place.
A place. So I didn't know about the workshop. And when I saw the workshop, it was my aha. I thought, I understand now why this is such a success. But I also realized when we made this video that every gentleman in this room is now thinking, well, I'll downsize, find me that workshop, and I will agree to move wherever you need me to. So I'm going to start looking for places with workshops. You'll see me later, and I'll let you know as I see them come available. Because this is a good example of a win-win. Right. It was a win for everybody.
Right. Yeah. And I want to say that it's not just like if your thing is tinkering and having a garage and doing mechanical work and all that, that's the garage. But it could be the kitchen. Like if you just had a kitchenette and you love to cook, that wouldn't work.
Well, but there's also communities that cater to that. Yep. That they will have a workshop for their residents. Yep. So it doesn't have to be a workshop in the backyard. There's different ways. There's more than one way to get to Albuquerque. Yeah. So you can just have to see what the box is and then how it fits. Right. So this is how it fit for them, but know that there are other ways to be able to do that. It doesn't have to just be the workshop. So know that is a unicorn. It is something you have to search for. They doesn't just appear. Yeah. And so, but there are other ways to be able to still accommodate that box. Because there's people who create jewelry, there's people who paint and quilt,
whatever it is.
Yeah, and so people live different ways in communities, in neighborhoods, all sorts of different ways to do it. But this was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people, Danny, you may have other examples, but how many people we've had to accommodate or chosen to accommodate that had a long arm quilting machine or had a baby grand piano or other things that they needed a boat. RVs. We've got all kinds of things. So you don't have to give up your hobbies, right?
Sculptures, tall gardens. Yes, I've seen them at your place. I know.
I know what. All right, so I'm going to have you guys, if you've got questions, I want you to hold your cards up, and we're going to collect those, and let's get some questions answered, because I'm sure you guys have lots of questions for these folks.
I will say, I've heard a rumor that at parties that my parents attend, when everybody goes around and is like, hey, show us a picture of the grandkids. The grandkid photos have been replaced by the cornfield. That's what my parents show now. So they don't show pictures of the grandkids. They're not as exciting.
And the shop, right?
The shop and the cornfield is what's getting shown at parties.
There you go. This gets a lot of playtime, I'm sure, on Jim's phone. So I'd be proud of that too, Jim, if I had access to that. That's pretty great. I'm not showing that video to my husband, so just so you know, guys. All right. What cards, questions? Y'all hold them up. Okay. We can't collect them if we don't know where they are. Hold them up. There we go. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Just 2 questions? That's great. Okay. What is the availability on the market for homes with handicap access? How does someone find those listings? That's a Shannon question.
It's limited. You can find them by key search words. You can try as basic as ADA compliant. You can use words like one level. You can words such as walk-in showers, and then you begin to look at pictures. But there's not, they do have a box that realtors can check that say accessibility, but I can tell you very few agents know what that means, and they don't check the box. So you're looking for keywords in descriptions, and that's traditionally how I will search for them. So they are out there, and it's sometimes bits and pieces of a puzzle of what you're looking for. So it's about checking as many boxes as possible, and what boxes are left. Are they feasible to work for you as a client?
Okay, that's really great. And I am so glad whoever asked this question. I think it's fantastic. And any one of you can weigh in on it. But the question is about widows or widowers moving in together, friends moving into homes together. If you're purchasing a home, Shannon, that would be something that we need to probably talk through. What if you've got two people that aren't, married? What does that look like if they're purchasing a home to grow older together in?
Actually, I think it's a really good idea, but it's something you would have in writing. Depends on what that financial situation looks like. I mean, the options are kind of unlimited. It can be that one person purchases, the other person has an agreement that they rent from them, and they pay rent every month. Or it could be that they both go in half, and then they're both joint tenants. So it just kind of depends on what the situation is. But again, there can be a lot of creativity. But the key to that situation is that it's in writing, and that you're transparent not only with each other, but I would also think with family members. I liked how you said it really well. They don't look at your checking account, but they know that one person's not taking advantage of the other.
Right. And I think an
Because that's
exit
important.
strategy. An exit
yes.
strategy is important because you're not both going to pass at the same time. So we've got to figure that out, right?
Well, and that you would know each other's plans.
Yes.
So what's your plan if something happens to you? Not just exit, but maybe for care.
Right.
And it really, what these guys have been talking about the whole time is boundaries. What are the boundaries? And that's really what you're talking about when you take a roommate or in any type of multi-generational or cohabitating is boundaries.
Perfect. Yeah. And then Danny, in a community setting, could they do that? Could two people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had people come to us and ask about that. We've not had it happen yet, but that's something we're certainly open to. And we've even had people who live there who contemplated, well, can we share a room together to save money?
Right.
So that's something that we're certainly open to.
Yeah, it is. It's not uncommon, right? And I think it's going to become more and more common as our needs and the supply and demand issues keep elevating, right? Okay, so do you have a handle on the projected new retirement communities in Oklahoma City? Townhomes versus condos versus apartments? Are there enough contractors to do that? I don't know if Ziegler provided that kind of information to us.
I
in
don't
our
have any
market.
specific to our market area. The information I got was just more global, what's happening around the country. But I would say that Oklahoma City, Oklahoma is not a whole lot different as far as that's concerned. I mean, there are definitely some new things happening, but there's not an influx that will fix the supply-demand issue overnight.
I will say this, and Shannon kind of alluded to this, boomers are changing everything for their whole life. They've changed everything, and then they're not going to stop now. So one of the things we have seen, and I, for those of you who don't know, I live in Texas, so I get an opportunity to see a different market than Oklahoma. And what we're seeing in that market is an evolution of options. And they have small homes that are rentable, 2 to 3 bedrooms. They are a community setting, but they're rent, not purchase. And they have a single garage, but they're like duplex. But they're like almost like tiny homes. They're smaller footprints, right? They don't provide any care or services or anything like that. So it's not a permanent option really, if unless you just wake up in heaven one day. But if you have needs, it may not be a permanent option. Shanna, do you know more about those? Did we lose you?
We have them as well.
Okay.
And it's about proximity and location.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about Oklahoma City itself, downtown especially, or certain areas, we use the land.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of new coming. You're looking at what's already existing and accommodating that. When you go to, there's several. There's Oak Haven in Yukon. There's Whispering Creek. So you have different places that are independent living. It's about checking the boxes in their lease options. You can age in place there as well because you can have healthcare come in and help you.
Right.
So again, it's about budgeting, planning, and having your plan A and plan B and plan C.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Do you, from a realtor, do you know much about the construction trends and all? I mean, are we building fast? Are we not building fast? Like contractors, that was a question about the community.
I would tell you they're not building fast.
Commercial.
They're sure
building.
not going to. They're not going to keep up with the need.
Okay.
It just like nationwide.
Okay. Well, I think that, I mean, we're not all experts in development, but that answers at least to the best of our ability. And I think this question, I'm going to encourage whoever asked it to come up to Dana and Marilyn specifically, but they're just curious about the agreement. Did you guys go through an attorney? Did y'all was it just something y'all did in writing with each other and sign it, or what does that look like?
We did not
Okay.
use an attorney for
That's fine.
our own agreement.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it's only as good as the people are
Right.
that qualify.
Sure.
So we did try to be clear
Uh-huh.
and let others read it, but we did not use an attorney.
Okay.
So.
But if somebody wanted to kind of get ideas on the nuts and bolts of it, the outline you use.
And we'd love to
whatever.
have people come by. I mean,
Right.
call first.
Sure.
Make sure I'm dressed.
Yeah. I was just thinking about coming up here after the thing we're done today.
Yeah.
She has a doorbell though, you guys.
Yeah.
So doorbell.
Right.
Very good. I think that's it.
Can I go through something? What I know is if you don't do it yourself, you can't count on it. Staging is a DIY job. So honestly, people have thought, like you said, that we were really something must be wrong. We must have some horrible disease or whatever to want to do this now. I can imagine that people live in that smallest space or whatever they say, all those things. But we decided that what we decided, not let that, because Danny, in 2050, when the ratio is 2-to-1, I will be 106. My mother-in-law is still living at 105. My mother will live to 103. I plan to live much longer than both of them, and I really don't want to be cared for. I mean, I've got this plan, but hopefully that's why I go to Stretch Zone, and that's why I talk to people and try to keep us active. In fact, this thank you has allowed us to be more active because we now are not so exhausted. We have time to go to game night at villages and so forth. So the bottom line is, if you don't make your own plan, then you can only take what somebody else comes up with.
Right.
So I would like to be a contributing factor to these grandkids' lives for, until God calls me home.
Right.
And I don't know what the plan is, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to stay healthy. So
Yeah.
Jim can grow enough corn, and I can go to enough Stretch Zone, we'll be okay.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to share that, any last thoughts or things we didn't cover that you hope we did?
I just can't stress enough. It's about the plan, because if you don't make a plan, you actually have made a plan, and the plan is for someone else to make the decisions for you. And if that's your plan, that's okay, but you have to acknowledge that, and that has to be something you get to be aware of.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that because we see that all the time.
Yeah.
Where people are forced into a situation they don't want because they didn't spend the time to figure out what options would be, and they're left with what's available.
Yeah.
And so in conclusion, before is better than after.
Yes. Before is better than after. Write that down. That's good. I love it. Well, you guys, for those of you who've come often, you know that we do the gift workshop. That is something that is part of the plan. It is part of the conversation. It does help guide you to know what things maybe you need to talk to your family about or your spouse about that you haven't. So if you haven't considered that, you might talk with our group back here in the villages table because they have information on it. At least consider it. If you're an employer and you would like to offer that workshop to your employees, maybe you've done your planning, you understand the value of it, but you have people around you that haven't, or family members. We've done lots of versions of this, haven't we, Dana? Like, we try to reach out to as many people as we can to share resources. So I would encourage that. I will also say that we know that not everyone is kumbaya and as Punch and Judy as the Olsons have been on our show today. So, but I will say this: we do have an upcoming in October. We're doing a conversation on family dynamics. And so I would encourage you to come to that, or to, bring folks that maybe challenged or struggling with family dynamics, whether that just be because people are out of state, because people are on the same page, whatever that is, having our conversations, any of that, right? I think that's really about it. We've answered questions. Oh, we have another one. Yes? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised, but I will say this, and if, for those of you who couldn't hear what she was saying, she's talking about new development. They live in the Piedmont area, and we do have new developers. And the wonderful thing is we do have a few developers that are being innovative and not closing their eyes to the fact that we have an aging population that is greater than a younger population, and we need to accommodate for what that looks like. So kudos to them for including options when people are designing their own homes to be able to have wider doorways or to have lower shower barrier entry and all of those kinds of things. Even in the garage, right? Going from the garage into the house, there's no barrier to entry. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's great, right? We're kudos to them. That's a good thing.
They're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
They're smart. They're smart builders.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, traditionally, they build them pretty fast because it's about money. But it can be done. Everything can be done. It's just a matter of having that conversation. And it depends on the demographic they're looking for buying the house.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. Well, we would love to see you back in September. We are going to have our another half-day program where it is from 10 to 2. We're going to talk about technology, and we really hope that you will come. The focus is going to be on how we use technology personally and how industry is using technology to help better our lives. So I think it'll be a really interesting conversation, and we're going to have lunch included in that like we did in May. So we hope to see you there. And thank you to our amazing panel. They were informative and they were humorous, and we are so grateful to you. If you have any questions for them, they'll kind of hang up here at the front if you didn't have a question you wanted to ask out loud. Thank you to all of you for coming. Have a great day, and be